Where do you get that from? Why are you improving on the speech of Allah? Do you speak better than Allah and His Messenger?
I mean, how am I going to try to get out of this?
Well, you don't. The way you get out of it is leave Islam and give your life to Jesus. Why you keep fighting, kicking against the goats?
Yeah, but Allah gives a test in 482 where He says if it's both the Quran was other than from Allah, it will contain much contradiction.
Well, there are many contradictions.
Why don't you guys apply that test to your life?
There's many contradictions in your Quran. Your Quran is full of contradictions. Don't deceive yourself.
Astaghfirullah. No,
I'll give you a couple right now. The Quran fails its own test. It's full of contradictions. In fact, even before we go there, go to 482.
Yeah.
Go to chapter 4, verse 82, because that verse itself shows the Quran is a lie.
Okay, will they not then ponder on the Quran? If it had been from other than Allah, they would have found therein much incongruity.
Okay, do you understand why this is a contradiction?
How is this a contradiction?
Okay. Number one, it says, if it had been from other than Allah, in other words, if it wasn't Allah who wrote it, they would find many contradictions, right? So whoever wrote this verse doesn't know logic, because that means only someone who is all-knowing, i.e. God, can write a book free of contradictions. You got it? Because it said, had this been from other than Allah, they would find many contradictions. Logically, that means the author doesn't know logic, because implication is only God can write books that have no contradictions. Everyone else will make mistakes. So if I pick up a book on science and there are no mistakes, that means that Allah wrote it according to the logic of this verse. Second problem with this verse. Well, there's another problem. Why did it say, had it been from other than Allah, they would find many contradictions? That means if I find a few contradictions, it's still from Allah, as long as I don't find many. Does that make sense?
No, I think that's just like that's general,
No, that's not what it says. You can't, friend, you can't explain to me what the verse means when I'm reading it before my eyes. Had it been from other than Allah, if this book wasn't from Allah, they'd find many contradictions. Meaning, only Allah can write books that have no contradictions. Well, that means any book I pick up, if I pick up a book on history that's accurate, Allah wrote it. If I pick up a book on math that has no mistakes, Allah wrote it. If I pick up a book on science, no mistakes, Allah wrote it. That's the logic. That means whoever wrote this didn't know logic. But then it gets worse for you. It says, if it had not been from Allah, you'd find many contradictions. That means if I find few contradictions, it's still from Allah. So Allah can make a few mistakes, but not too many. That's the logic of the sentence.
No, I think maybe when it says many contradictions, it's referring to abrogated verses, maybe.
Where? Where do you get that from? Why are you improving on the speech of Allah? Do you speak better than Allah and His Messenger?
I mean, how am I going to try to get out of this?
Well, you don't. The way you get out of it is leave Islam and give your life to Jesus. Why you keep fighting, kicking against the goats?
There's two things which I think may be of interest to you in Islam. One of them is that one of the necessary conditions for revelation, according to the Quran, is that there are no internal contradictions. And this is very clear. So in the Quran, it's mentioned, in chapter 4, verse 92, that if this book was from other than God, there would have been in it.
Well, I know this is an important argument that apologists use for Islam. My view about this is, as somebody who is not either Christian or Muslim, is that that it doesn't make sense to me for humans to say what God has to do. If God wants to make a revelation, it has to be this, or that. It's got to be clear. It's got to be consistent. There cannot be contradictions. There cannot be manuscript problems. I mean, who says? I mean, God. I mean, you're talking about somebody who's beyond your imagination. I'm not a Quran scholar, obviously, but I would like to say a couple things about it. One is that it does seem to me that if a book is without contradictions, that has no bearing on whether it comes from God or not. And so it's impossible for a human to write a book that is without contradictions. That has no bearing on whether it comes from God or not. And so it's not impossible for a human to write a book without contradictions, because many people do. And so I've had phone books that are inerrant, but I certainly don't think God gave them. I've had phone books that are inerrant, but I certainly don't think God gave them.
Sekali lagi, nama saya Kainama, saya biasa dipanggil Kay.
Yo, 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 bro, pill in the house. Yo, 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 bro, pill in the house. Sekali lagi, nama saya Kenama, saya biasa dipanggil K. Saya adalah mantan pendeta, saya lulusan STT Jakarta. Saya juga pernah sekolah S2 di Belanda. Tidak hanya itu, saya lanjutkan sekolah PhD di Israel, tapi ida semua bohong.
Dia adalah seorang pendeta sebelumnya yang menjadi mu'alaf dengan nama pendeta, yaitu Agustinus Christoffel Kainama. Kemudian ketika beliau berganti agama menjadi Islam, menjadi seorang mu'alaf, beliau mengganti namanya menjadi Ahmad Kainama. Beliau adalah seorang pendeta yang berpendidikan tinggi, yang bersekolah di S1 di Sekolah Tinggi Teologi Jakarta. Kemudian beliau melanjutkan S2-nya di Leiden University, Belanda. Kemudian tak sampai di situ, beliau terus meneruskan pendidikannya di S3 di Tanakh Biblical Studies, Haifa, Israel, dengan mengambil bidang minat Holy Scriptical Biblical.
Sekali lagi, nama saya Kenama, saya biasa dipanggil K. Saya adalah mantan pendeta, saya lulusan STT Jakarta. Saya juga pernah sekolah S2 di Belanda. Tidak hanya itu, saya lanjutkan sekolah PhD di Israel, tapi ida semua bohong. Tapi ida semua bohong. Ha ha ha.
Aku bukan mantan pendeta, tidak pernah sekolah keluar, aku tidak pernah sekolah teologi, tidak pernah tahu apa-apa. Oh, di hari-hari akhir nanti akan ditampi dan orang akan melihat. Oh, sebetulnya lu bohong.
Halo teman-teman, ini ada fitur baru dari YouTube, di mana teman-teman bisa mensupport channel Pil Pahit dengan cara mengklik thanks seperti ini, lalu akan muncul pilihan jumlah nominal yang teman-teman bisa support. Setelah itu kirim, teman-teman bisa mengirim dengan berbagai aplikasi seperti yang ada di layar. Terima kasih untuk dukungan teman-teman.